Hey guys, Sneaky Kitty Game Dev here, and in this video I'm going to show you how to adjust your Qidi, I don't know how to pronounce it, QIDI 3D printers E-steps. And in the next video I'm also going to show you how to adjust the X, Y, and Z stepper motors as well to get everything nice and precise. So really there's only one guide that I saw online, and that was only for the E-steps, but it's relatively straightforward. It was on Reddit. But again, this video is going to be E-steps, next video will be X, Y, and Z. So in the description, you'll have this download for a folder called Calibration, and it'll contain a couple different things. So what it'll contain is the set E-steps and X, Y, and Z steps. Now these are for when we actually get to the point where we know our new value and we want to set them to our printer. So that's where we put these in the printer, run it, and it just assigns everything that we set inside the G code. Then we have save machine config. What this will do is it'll create a little G code file in here, and that'll contain all of your printer's current settings. That'll be important because we use our current settings and the distance that they're the difference that we get that we need to correct for, and we use those two to find our new value to run in these three G codes here. Then finally we have this extrude 100, and all this does is it extrudes 100 millimeters of filament, and I'll run you through this really quick. So if you need to change your temperature, the 200 is for 200 degrees. That's what I have mine set to by default. And that's really it. So let's go ahead and head over to the printer. All right, once you're at the printer, you're going to want to go ahead and set your calipers to 120 millimeters and pull through whatever filament that you need to. So remove your top cover and, whatever. So what we're going to want to do first is head over to print, and 1 second. Okay, forgot to put the files on my thumb drive. We're going to go to calibration, and you're going to see save machine config. We're going to press that, and we're going to start that as a print, and that'll create a save file. So if we head down to saved configs, you will see new config file. So we know everything's good, and we have all of our current settings. That's what we're going to use to, with our math to adjust our new values later. Now, let's go ahead and mark our filament. So with our calipers at 120, we are going to want to basically, what do you call it? We're extruding 100 millimeters. We want to measure at 120 millimeters, so that way we have an excess. So basically we can figure out if we extrude exactly 100 millimeters, we know we will have exactly 20 millimeters left over. So we can use that difference, again, with our current values to figure out our new values. Now what you do is you run it where the bottom of our calipers all the way down to the head. So here you can see I've marked it. So from there to the dot is exactly 120 millimeters, or very close to it. Now back at our panel, we're going to go ahead and select extrude 100 and start that up. And that is going to be what extrudes 100 millimeters of filament out. So by the end, we should have 100 or roughly 20 millimeters left over, less or more. Now you see here, it's heating up to 200 degrees. And like I said earlier, you're going to want to adjust this based upon whatever filament you're using. So in my case, I'm just leaving it at 200. Here you can see it's starting to extrude. Let that complete and hit confirm. And we measure the distance from, just like the way we measured 120 millimeters, we want to measure 20 millimeters. So from there to our little dot should be very close to 20 millimeters. So as you can see, I'm very close. Mine looks like it's a little bit under. That's because I'm having a hard time running or holding the filament with my left hand, but I've already calibrated it, so that's why it's this close. So now let's head back to the computer, and we are going to make the assumption that yours is perhaps under extruding or over extruding, and we're going to correct it. So let's go ahead and power off the machine, grab our thumb drive, and head back. All right, back on our PC. Here I have my thumb drive open. We're going to go to calibration and saved configs. Now yours will be called new config file. I just renamed mine to original config file because I usually like to keep a backup of whatever the original config was. So this is going to be my original. So we're going to open that with Notepad. We're going to go to line line 18. So here you'll see M8011. Now that instruction is for our E steps, as indicated by the comment E. And directly above that, we have our Z and our X and our Y offsets, or not offsets, but for our stepper motors. And what we want to do is we want to figure out what our new E value should be. So let's say, so you saw how mine did roughly 20 millimeters, very close. Let's say when you measured, you got something along the lines of 19.23. Yeah, we'll do that. So I'm going to open up a new window here. Let's call it, we measured 19.23. And let's also go ahead and copy our current value. So our current is equal to that. Okay, so we have our current, we have our measured, and we know that our ideal is going to be 20. So what we want to do is we want to see how far off we were from 100 millimeters, because that's what we extruded. So we extruded 100 millimeters. So extruded equals 100. Now the formula for this is going to be our current times basically our difference, which we'll set here in a second, divided by the amount we extruded. So let's go ahead and get our difference. So difference is going to equal some number. So bring out a calculator here. And we know we wanted 20, but we got 19.23. So we're going to subtract that and get the offset from there. So 20 minus 19.23, that gives us 0.77. So now we can take our extruded, which was 100, and subtract 0.77 from it, which gives us 99.23. So there's that value. So now we can do that all together. We have our current. Go ahead and copy this, screw typing. We have our current. We want to multiply that by the difference of 99.23. Then we want to divide that by the amount we extruded, which was 100 millimeters. And this will give us our new value. So our new equals that. So let's go ahead and compare just to chop off the end. So our basically this is where it rounds it to, but basically we have 0.07055 instead of 0.007110. So we want to go ahead and chop off the end. So here's where you would round up or down. So here we have a 2, so we would round down, meaning 0, so we would just chop the end off. Let's say this value was, instead of it being a 2, let's say it was an 8. So if that's an 8, we want to round up. So what we would do is we would change this number right here before, we would increment that by 1, so it would go from a 5 to a 6, and then we chop the end off. And that's going to give us the closest value. So now that we have our new, we can copy that and we can plug it into one of our other files. So if we head down here, back to our root, to set E steps, open that in Notepad. And here you can see I went ahead and made a comment, replace with new E step value. That's going to be this here. So you would basically take what you copied, so your new, and paste that into this value here and save it. So I'm going to go ahead and close out of all of this. We have everything we need, and we have set up our set E steps, just like so. So now I'm going to take you back to the printer. We're going to run that. Well, I'm not going to run that because I really don't want to overwrite whatever I have right now, and show you how to set that up. And that basically, as long as you did that right, your E steps should now be pretty much spot on. So I'll see you at the printer. All right, back on the printer. You're going to want to go ahead and hit print, and you're going to want to go to set E steps. Then basically just print it like normal. I'm not going to do that because mine's, already set. But take 3 to 5 seconds and say complete, and you'll be good to go. Now, once you do that, what I would recommend you do is you take your calipers, you set them back to 120 millimeters, you mark your filament again, so measure it from there to there, just like we did before. Then we run through the extrude 100 again, and you basically measure out the difference between the head to your little marking. And hopefully that'll be 20 millimeters. But as long as you did this right, it should be. So that's going to wrap this up, and I'll see you in the next video.